Okay, this is kind of some midpoint tips for you about how to avoid doing things wrong that many of you are doing and in fact are costing you points in this class. So let's get down to some brass tacks. When you are doing your introductions, the length of the introductions is deducted from the length of the video. So if you do a 5-minute video and it takes you a minute to get all of your introductions done before you start to speak, you only have a 4-minute video. If it's a requirement of a 5-minute video, you're already a minute short. Keep that in mind. The introductions do not count on the length of the speech. Excuse me. Do not come close to even close to doing a topic you have already done. So if in your process speech you talked about, I don't know, pick something, fireman or policeman, no topics the rest of the semester about anything having to do with firefighting or law protection, law enforcement, any of that kind of thing. No topics are duplicated in this class. Let me give you a heads up. On your final speech, your persuasive speech, we will not allow any speech dealing with capital punishment or abortion. There's not much you're going to be able to say there that has not already been said, and I want you to try to be more creative than picking topics that are just so much like that we don't want to even have you do in this course. Know your audience. It's not, you can't assume that what you're talking about is of interest to your audience, or even that the audience that you're speaking to is knowledgeable about it. So yeah, you may know a great deal about the particular topic, but if in the way you present it, you are going on the basis that I already know a great deal about it, or I'm really interested in it. So let's say that you decide to do a speech on Frisbee golf. You know what? I could care less. I'm not likely to play. And it might be somewhat interesting, but when you start to get into techniques, I'm never going to play. I don't need to know the techniques, okay? So, know your audience. That's part of what you should have been studying in your book. Label your outlines. There are generally 2 outlines required for each speech. And by the way, how many of you are reading what the requirements are for the speeches? Because it seems as though you're not following what it says. Let's go back to the outlines. There is a speaking outline and a preparation outline. When you send me your outlines, do not in the subject line say outlines, and then in the actual outline 1, say it's the speech outline, and in outline 2, say it's the speech outline. You've got to label it so that when I look at it, I can see whether you really understand the difference between a speaking outline and a preparation outline. Essentially, if you'll read your book, you will find out that the speaking outline is kind of what you use when you're actually doing the speech. It's what you hear me talk about when I talk about bullet points. You kind of do the little bullet points that remind you what you're going to say next. All right? But know the difference between a speaking outline and a preparation outline, and label your outlines that way on the actual outline. I don't care if you send me the subject line of the email says speech outlines. When you get to the actual outline itself, I want to know whether this one is the speaking outline or the preparation outline, and you have got to tell me that. All right. Only submit your outlines through the email process I have defined for you hundreds of times. You send it from your Ivy Tech email account to my Ivy Tech email account, period, exclamation point, end of discussion. Do not leave an outline anywhere within McGraw-Hill and expect me to open it or see it. Conversely, do not leave long explanations in McGraw-Hill of anything. All I want to see there is, this is my process speech. That's the most I want to see there. If you got something you want me to know, send it to me in an email or call me in my office. All right. Know what you are supposed to submit. Again, we talked about this briefly. Read the directions for each speech. Understand the length of each speech. And make sure that you pay really, really close attention to what it is that are the requirements for the speech. listen to and watch your videos before you post them for me to see. If I'm looking at it saying, how come they think I can hear what that person's saying? Or if the person is way off in the distance and I'm trying to see their face and eyes and I can't, then why would you think that that's acceptable? See this shot right here? See if you've ever heard me say this before. This shot, what you're seeing right now, is the only shot I want to see when you are speaking. If you have a visual, you can hold up the visual, but send me a copy of it. I will refer to the visuals in what you send me. You can talk about them, and when you are talking about them, that's fine. And when you are talking about it, they're making an announcement here that the campus is about to close. When you send me your visuals, you can talk about what it is, and then in your speech you can say, in this visual of the Stanifrat, and then I will look and say visual of Stanifrat, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Send me a copy of your visuals. Do not try to zoom the camera, tilt the camera, any of that other stuff to show the visuals. All right? Many of you still are not properly introducing your audience. You must show me the audience one at a time. Do not zoom past the audience. Do not take a wide shot and expect me to count and figure out who is everybody, because in a dark room I can't do that anyhow. Each person passes in front of the camera. They are supposed to give their name and they are supposed to say their age. Now, if you would object to giving your age, you can simply say over 21. You must establish that everyone in that audience is 16 years of age or older. So if you want to say over 21, or you want to say 16, or older than 16, you don't have to say 85 and 92 and 39 and all of that. Also, if your audience thinks it's a joke, maybe you don't want them in your audience. We have some people that are getting a little cutesy in the introduction parts of it. That's not conducive to me being really sympathetic to whatever follows when somebody is treating it all as a joke. I can only assume that if they treat it as a joke, perhaps you as a speaker haven't told them that you are taking this course for college credit and you want to get a grade in the course. All right. You cannot pass this course unless you turn in every speech on time. If you haven't already turned in some of the speeches, you better be talking to me, because there's no way you're going to pass this course. Every speech must be submitted on time. Now, I realize with the process speech we had a little technical problem. I extended the deadline, and some people still did not turn in the speech. I have no idea why. I will work with anyone as much as I can, but if you're not trying to help yourself, I can't do anything for you. All right. You will see that, and by the way, your speeches must be submitted on time. It turns off. You cannot submit the speech after the deadline that's been established, unless I go in and re-establish another deadline as we did on the process speech. All right. You'll see on the rubrics for the grade and what I'm looking for in your speech, and you do look at those, don't you, so you know what we're looking for in each speech. You will see that it talks about credibility and establishing credibility. Many of you still are not doing that, and that means that if you're going to be talking about cooking, you may want to say something about, I graduated from the Culinary Arts of Europe Cooking School in 1938. I don't care what you say. The point is, or maybe it's something as simple as, all my life I've been interested in. Or long ago, my father showed me how. Or my mother taught me when I was 6 years old how to do this, that, or whatever it is you're talking about. Establish your credibility. Don't just talk about it. Why are you talking about that? What do you know about it? All right? And also make sure that when you are talking in your speech, that you cite your sources. If you have a source in the speech, you must talk about where you got the information that you were referring to. Some of you did a pretty good job of that. Others of you are saying things, and I'm literally sitting here in front of the computer saying, how do you know that? Where'd you get that? How come? So, for instance, I've used this example lots of times. If you say 10 people a week are killed in traffic accidents in Indiana, you better say before or right after, according to the National Safety Council, the Indiana State Police, AAA. Give a source for that. I will not assume that you are the world's leading expert on how many people are killed each week in traffic accidents in Indiana. All right. Again, the camera shot. See what this shot looks like right now. Also, make sure that you're centered in the camera shot. See how much room there is over here? All right. You make sure you're centered in the shot so that when you are there, notice there's kind of an equal amount of room on both sides of the camera shot. All right. Know the length of your speeches. I allow 15 seconds of slop time on either side. So if it's supposed to be a 5 to 7 minute speech, it can run anywhere from 4 minutes and 45 seconds to 7 minutes and 15 seconds without being too short or too long. Dress for your speech. I don't know that I need to say any more about that, but, you know, be careful how you look. This is a class. It's a college class. You're making a formal presentation. Do it right. Look up in your textbook so you understand the difference between the speaking outline and the preparation outline. The other thing is understand in terms of talking to your audience, the conversational approach. Remember the 5 things we talked about: pitch, pace, tone, volume, and silence. Use those when you give your speech. Don't start here and go to here and try to get there as fast as possible. Don't be monotone when you talk so that everything you say is talked about. And don't speak in little kind of measurable beats as you speak, so that as I sit there, I can always tell that it's only going to be 5 or 6 words before you run to the next 5 or 6 words. All right? You see how that sounds? It's stilted. Be conversational. Okay? If you have any questions, call me in my office. Next, you'll be seeing the videos for the critiques of the process speech. Some of you did very, very well. I handed out 1 perfect score. I don't do that in this class. 1 person in the 3 sections did as good a job as you can possibly do. The suspense will get to you, but you'll find out when you watch the critiques and then look at Blackboard to see when the scores are posted who had the best job. You're really not going to tell until I hand out the Excel spreadsheets where you can see how you did in relation to everybody else in your class. All right? Have a great one. Stay cool if you can, and we'll talk to you in the critiques.